Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really powerful idea from Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. And trust me, this one, it hits home for pretty much every single long-term plan we ever make.
I mean, that sounds completely crazy, right? But let me tell you a quick story about a friend of mine. Growing up, this guy had one dream and one dream only: become a doctor. He didn't come from money, didn't have any special connections, but he was, without a doubt, the hardest working person I'd ever met. And against all odds, after the years and years of just grinding, he actually did it. He made it. So a few years back, I finally get the chance to catch up with him. I'm so excited to hear all about it. And before I can even finish saying hello, he just hits me with that. No hesitation. It wasn't, oh, it's tough or it's a little different than I expected. It was just flat, gut-wrenching, awful career.
And for the next 10 minutes, he just laid it all out. How the stress, the insane hours, they just completely crushed him. See, the guy he was at 35, actually living the life of a doctor, was just so unhappy with the choice his super-driven 18-year-old self had made. So, what in the world happened here? And maybe more importantly, what does a story like this have to do with your money and your future?
Well, this really gets to the heart of it. We are just shockingly bad at predicting what our future selves are going to want. It's one thing to dream about a goal, right? That's the fun part. But trying to imagine that same goal when you factor in real-life stress or changing relationships or just the world changing around you, that's a whole different ballgame. And it's a game we're not very good at playing because who we are and what we want, it's just not set in stone. Just think about your own life for a second. Our goals change a lot. When you're 5, you just want to drive a tractor, right? Pure fun. At 18, you're thinking about a career, maybe something with a bit of prestige, like being a lawyer. Then at 35, maybe family becomes the absolute center of your universe. And by 70, it's all about security. We are literally different people at every single one of these stages. And look, this isn't just a gut feeling. We've got the data to back it up. The Federal Reserve found that only 27%, just over a quarter of college grads end up working in a field that's even related to their major. Think about that. The huge majority of us end up doing something completely different from what our teenage selves so carefully planned out. Psychologists actually have a name for this whole thing. They call it the end of history illusion. It's this funny cognitive bias where we can easily look back and say, wow, I've changed so much in the last 10 years. But then we look forward and kind of assume that the person we are right now, well, this is it. This is the finished product. We've basically arrived. Harvard psychologist Daniel Gilbert just nails it with this quote. He says, we're basically making these huge life-altering decisions for a person we haven't even met yet, our future self. And then, when we finally become that person down the road, we're not always thrilled with the choices we made. It's like we built a house for a stranger, and then we're surprised when that stranger, who is us, doesn't like the wallpaper. Okay, so here's where it gets really critical for our finances. The number one rule of compounding, that magical force that builds real wealth, is to never interrupt it if you don't have to. But what happens when we keep changing our minds? We switch careers, we scrap our savings plans, we totally change our life's direction every 10 years. Well, we're basically hitting the reset button over and over. Instead of one powerful 80-year compounding machine, we end up with 4 separate, much weaker 20-year plans. All right, so if we know for a fact that we're going to change, how in the world are we supposed to make any long-term plans? It feels like a total paradox, right? But don't worry, it's not hopeless. There are actually a couple of really smart strategies for dealing with this exact problem. Okay, strategy number 1, the power of balance. The big idea here is to just avoid the extremes. Seriously, whether you're talking about extreme saving or an extreme work schedule, these all-or-nothing paths are loaded with the hidden risk of future regret. And the danger of going to extremes is pretty easy to see, isn't it? If you save absolutely nothing in your 20s just to live it up, your 40-year-old self is probably going to look back with some serious resentment. On the flip side, if you grind out 80-hour work weeks for a huge salary, your 60-year-old self might look back and realize they've spent their entire youth inside a cubicle. The initial excitement of these extreme paths fades, but man, the regrets can stick around for a long, long time. So the answer is to aim for moderation in everything. Think moderate savings each year, moderate amounts of free time, a moderate commute that doesn't suck the life out of you, moderate time with your family. This isn't about compromising or being boring. It's a strategy for endurance. It's how you create a plan that you can actually stick with for decades, which is exactly how long compounding needs to really do its thing. All right, on to strategy number 2. This one is more of a mental game. It's all about accepting the reality that you're going to change and then being brave enough to not let the person you used to be run your life today. And this brings us to the trap of sunk costs. These are all the things you can't get back. The time, the money, the effort you've already poured into a career or a degree or some investment plan. And because we hate the idea of all that effort going to waste, we chain ourselves to decisions that don't make us happy anymore. We basically become prisoners of our past selves. Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman has just this amazing mindset for this. Apparently, when he was writing a book, he would sometimes toss out entire chapters that took him weeks to write. Just gone. And when someone asked him how he could possibly do that, his answer was so simple but so powerful. I have no sunk costs. He refused to be tied to his past work if a better idea showed up. Simple as that. So, how do we actually do this in our own lives? Here's the trick. You have to start treating the goals set by your past self as if they were set by a total stranger. Just acknowledge, hey, that person had different dreams, they had different information, and if their plan doesn't work for the person you are today, you have to be willing to walk away from it, without mercy. It's about minimizing future regret, not justifying past efforts. And that really brings us to the big question you have to ask yourself. Look, the point of all this isn't to stop making plans. Not at all. It's to start planning for change. Build that balance and flexibility into your life so you can actually stick with things for the long haul and have the courage to ditch old goals when they just don't fit anymore. Because the sooner you adjust your plan for who you are today, the sooner you can get back to that all-important work of compounding for the future that you, the real you, actually wants.